The CPU, which stands for Central Processing Unit, is the most important component in your computer because, as the name implies, it processes all your digital files and it defines the very character of your computer. What you see right now is a CPU, and the piece of metal with the Intel name stamped on it is called the heat spreader, and this dissipates heat when the CPU is working. When you take away the heat spreader, this is what you see underneath. Almost all CPUs today have multiple processors or cores. This means you may have 2, 4, or even 6 processors on one piece of silicon. In this particular example, you can see 6 cores, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is where the processor does its processing. This area here is the cache, and this is where the CPU stores data that it will use in the short term. The memory controller here controls data flow to and from your RAM or memory, and the uncore section here controls everything to do with the CPU that does not involve processing. For example, the voltage at which the CPU operates, the frequency at which it operates, etc., etc. This particular CPU uses the Sandy Bridge architecture. CPU architecture simply refers to how the components in the CPU are arranged, how powerful those components are, and how they carry out their functions. The image on the right-hand side shows a CPU within the Nehalem architecture, and you can see immediately that it is quite different from Sandy Bridge. For example, the cores where processing takes place are situated differently around the cache, and the memory controller is in a different place. CPU manufacturers such as Intel refresh their CPU architecture every 2 years or so to increase processing capability and power efficiency. Nehalem is an older architecture, and it came out in November 2008. It was succeeded by Sandy Bridge, which is the current architecture, and this was introduced in January 2011. Now, to find out which CPU is right for you, take a look at episode 2.